In this video, you're going to learn the exact step-by-step method in how to make millions out of the cryptocurrency bull market. You might have just seen that there's been a big crash in the cryptocurrency market recently, and if you're not putting a plan in place on how to set yourself up for the next run, you could potentially be wasting a once-in-a-generation opportunity here to build generational wealth. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Kyle Stagol. I've been trading the cryptocurrency markets for over 7 years now, and I've helped over 2,000 people learn and understand how to trade these markets and how to take money out of these markets and put it into their own pockets. So I want to take you guys through the number one reason why I love trading the cryptocurrency markets and why I believe I can teach anybody to become a millionaire if they just give me 5 to 8 years of planning and putting things in place. I believe anybody, any level of understanding of charting, of trading, and any level of income, you definitely have the potential to be able to become a millionaire if you follow this step-by-step strategy. The only trick is you do have to have a bit of patience and it does take some time. But I believe if you can stay in the market for 2 market cycles, that anybody can become a millionaire using the cryptocurrency markets. So let's jump in and I'll show you guys a few little things that really make a big difference to the way that I believe people should be looking at generating and building financial wealth. Okay, financial wealth. Okay, so let's jump in. So this is the main thing that I want to teach you guys. Now, in a normal business cycle, it takes about 8 to 14 years. So that's the normal economic cycle that we go through from when you have a recession. The last one we had was in 2008. In fact, why don't we get up the SPX chart and have a quick look at it? So we had a recession in 2000. There was a dot-com bubble. And then about 8 years later, we had the 2008 global financial crisis, right? And then that was about a full year of bear market before we recovered. So that was a full 8 year cycle. And then the next following cycle was basically from the bottom of 2009, or, we can take it from the top of 2008 all the way until the top of 2021. So it's about, close to 14 years. So let's just say you have, on the short end, a business cycle is about 8 years, and on the longer end, it's about 14 years. And we can go back throughout history. And the reason is because this is usually about 2 full liquidity cycles, and a liquidity cycle is about 4 years. Now, remember that 4 year mark that the liquidity cycle is based on is very important for cryptocurrency. Now, with the cryptocurrency markets, we have a 4 year cycle. And Satoshi, in all his brilliance, when he created Bitcoin, he put it on cycle with the liquidity cycle because it started actually at the start of the global financial crisis. And that's why he had the famous saying, that he inscribed into the Genesis block, which was the first ever block printed on Bitcoin. The heading of the Times for that day, that the chancellor was on the second bailout of banks. Now, by doing that, when that happened, it was a protest against, endless printing by central banks, because he believed that that robbed people of their purchasing power. So he wanted to create Bitcoin as a protest to that, and also give people an opportunity in a way to store their wealth without it being stolen away by endless money printing from central banks. Okay, so everybody understands inflation and everything that's going on right now with inflation and just it destroying your purchasing power. The way that Bitcoin is designed is to go in the other direction to that, okay? So that we get the supply gets more and more scarce over time, and that happens at a 4 year interval, and it's perfectly lined up with the US presidential election, and it's perfectly lined up with the liquidity cycle as well that comes with that US presidential election of when they spend and everything like that, and when more money is released into the economy. So these vertical lines through here that you can see on my screen in orange, they are the Bitcoin halvings. Now, it's really important to understand what this is if you're going to be getting into the cryptocurrency industry. Basically, what that means is when you have halving, the supply of coins that are distributed into the Bitcoin network every 10 minutes is cut in half. So before the halving that we just had earlier this year, there was 6.25 Bitcoin added into the network, basically created every 10 minutes. Since the halving, there's 3.125 coins added every 10 minutes. So I'd like you to guys just imagine what would happen to the price of gold if half of the world's gold mines around the entire planet cut off all of a sudden overnight. That would massively limit supply. And when you have a reduction in supply, what happens is we find a new equilibrium of price, which means same demand, less supply. So the supply is restricted, demand is going to push that up, and we have inflation of prices. Exactly the same thing happened in the entire global economy during COVID because China was shut down. Then we had the war in Russia, and minerals and resources were restricted out of Russia after the shutdown of China, which is the world's manufacturing center. And basically what we ended up with was the same level of demand, much less supply. And then they added a whole heap of demand by printing 40% of extra money supply. And that pushed up a lot of demand, and supply was restricted at the same time. And as a result, we have the price of everything has gone up 200 to 300%, right? And everyone feels that when they go to the grocery store or tries to buy a house. Now, cryptocurrency is designed, or Bitcoin specifically is designed to work in the other direction, right? So when supply is cut in half and you have the same amount of demand, that's going to cause price to be pushed up over time. So instead of the money printing that we have from all our central banks all over the world, which is increasing the inflation and deflating away our purchasing power, Bitcoin actually gives us the ability to purchase more and increases our purchasing power over time because the price of a Bitcoin increases over time due to the restriction of supply, right? So far it's been working pretty well since its inception. We're coming up to, about 15 years that Bitcoin's been running for now. And so far it's been working pretty good, and it's starting to get some massive adoption worldwide. Now, this is how we make lots of money out of it. The business cycle is 8 to possibly 14 years. We just had a 14-year cycle, but the cryptocurrency cycle is every 4 years. So if I wanted to buy some of the best stocks and get a good discount on them, say more than 50%, so in the last bear market that we just had in 2022, I was able to buy Tesla down about 70%. Facebook was down 75%. Amazon was down 70%, right? Really amazing name companies down huge percentages. You had to wait 14 years to get that opportunity. In the cryptocurrency industry, we get that opportunity to buy really high quality projects down, 80 to 90% from their all-time high, pretty much every 4 years, and Bitcoin specifically. And we can see that lines up, and the reason why that happens is because of the halving cycle, and it's the emotions of the traders that go through that throughout the cycle. So you have, a period of what we call accumulation, which is the green box here. And then that takes about a year. Then we go into a period of reaccumulation, which is a markup. And then we have higher prices. We go through reaccumulation again. And then we go into my favorite part of the cycle, which lasts about a year to a year and a half. And that is the bull run. That generally happens shortly after the halving, sometime later that year, usually around October or December that year. You get a bit of a larger breakout, push to new all-time highs, and then we have the blow-off phase of the market. And that's when everything just goes absolutely nuts. And you probably will remember everybody talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and this altcoin that they invested in all the way back in 2017 at every Christmas party you went to. That's because the market was going absolutely nuts back then. Then you probably would have remembered sort of similar thing was going on sometime in 2021 in the middle of the COVID lockdowns and stuff like that. Exactly 4 years later, we're in the middle of the end of our bull run, I should say, and everyone was in peak euphoria again, and things were popping off, and you're hearing about your mate's mate who made heaps of money on this altcoin. Maybe you dabbled in a little bit or something like that, and you ended up buying in right at the top before we went into a massive bear market, and now you've been stuck underwater. That's a lot of people, a lot of our students that come to us and say, hey, I want to learn more about these markets. I can see that there's potential to make money. I bought in the top of the last market cycle. I've been holding. I've just gotten back into profit or something like that. I always hear the same story. People potentially made a whole heap of money, didn't know what to do. They didn't sell at the right time. And now they're in a bit of a weird position. And they're trying to understand these markets better so they can make sure they capitalize on the market cycle and the opportunity this run. Okay. So every 4 years we have that halving, and then usually at the end of that year we have a really strong breakout. Now, the reason why I'm making this video right now, I want to stress to all of you, so important. This is the timing that we are in right now. And Raoul Pal put out a video the other day talking about the banana zone. I want to show you, this is the halving cycles broken up into different 4-year blocks. So we have the first halving cycle here, which was pretty much 2010 to about 2013. And you can see here that we finally have this breakout after the reaccumulation consolidation here. And then we pumped really aggressively. Now he calls this the banana zone. And it's because everything just goes bananas, but the chart also looks like a banana, the way a banana is shaped, because it sort of curves and it goes flat for a little bit and then curls up and goes vertical, the same way a banana does, right? And then we had 2000 and basically 2014 to 2017, right? We had the breakout from all-time highs and then a massive, huge rally. And this was when everyone was in euphoria again and talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin at all their Christmas parties, probably annoying the shit out of you, right? So then we had the exact same thing once again in the 2019 to 2021 cycle. And we had that really big pump and breakout in 2021. Once again, that banana zone time period. When we're in the actual banana zone, usually is about 6 months to a year where we're in that really big aggressive pump phase of the market. Sometimes it can last longer. And as you can see, we're painting the same picture again that we did the last 4 cycles, once more, getting ready to enter that banana zone and push into all-time highs and go into that euphoria phase. That's why it's really important to stress to you guys the opportunity at hand right now and why you need to understand these markets and not just understand them. You need to know exactly what's going on and be able to read the live data. So the trick is, now this is how we make millions of dollars. And this is why I believe that I can teach anybody to make millions of dollars in the cryptocurrency markets. You just need to give me 5 years minimum and 8 years maximum, depending on what time you enter the market during the market cycle. Now, the thing is, right now, we're about to enter into the pump phase of the bull market. And this is when typically most crypto traders make about 90% of their money over the cycle because things just go absolutely bananas. The other thing that I need to make you guys aware of is the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? And what we want to watch out for is when Bitcoin moves to a new all-time high, we start to enter into that banana zone sort of phase, the first pullback that it has. So let's just say Bitcoin pushes to 90K, has a pullback to 75 or 70. What we'll be looking for is a tell on this chart here that it's getting ready to break down and roll over and give us a similar sort of sell-off dump like what we had back here in 2021 or also in 2017 that went for about 1 to 2 months. Now, this is when all the altcoins go absolutely nuts. So this is one of the best tricks I can give to anybody on how to make a lot of money in the crypto market. When this chart finally breaks down, enters into a downtrend and is ready to roll over, and we finally enter that altcoin part, that altcoin pump part of the market cycle, what we call alt season. You want to be able to rotate heavily into altcoins, capture as much part of that cycle pump as you possibly can, and then rotate back into Bitcoin. We only want to be in those altcoins for a short amount of time. If you do this at the right time, you can literally turn, say, 5 to 10 Bitcoin. You can easily multiply that, turn that into 20, 30, 40, 50 Bitcoin. I've done it before. In 2019, I had 1 Bitcoin to my name. So I had to spend, a long story, but I had to spend all the money I was making from crypto trading. I had to spend that in another business. And I ended up with 1 Bitcoin and about $3,000. And I ended up turning that into 70 Bitcoin by the end of the next 4-year cycle. So it definitely can be done, but you have to know exactly what you're doing at the right times. So one of the big tricks is rotating through altcoins at the correct time of the cycle. Let's just say I've got 5 Bitcoin. I put that across into Ethereum at the right time. Ethereum pumps maybe 200-300% versus Bitcoin. Then I rotate that back. That 5 Bitcoin is now 15 Bitcoin. Maybe I'll rotate it through into the next altcoin like Solana or Sui or something like that. That 15 Bitcoin then gets a multiplication of, another 100, 200. Now I've got 30 or 45 Bitcoin. And, it sounds a little bit crazy and, you don't do exact 100% in and outs or anything like that, but I like to, move pieces around. but it can be done. I've done it before, and I've taught a lot of other students how to do it before, and they've gotten great results over the last 7 years of being a part of our community. So back to this chart, because it's the most important thing to watch for. Right now, we are entering that phase where we're getting close to hitting the major part of the bull run. We had the halving earlier on in the year, and we have to remember seasonality in the cryptocurrency market. August and September are usually the two, if we just look, not usually, if we just look at the statistics of the market, are the two most bearish months of the market. You have a 33% chance, which is the lowest probability, that you will have a green month. So most likely, we're going to have a red month for August and a red month for September. But then October is the strongest month of the year with an 80% probability that we'll have a green market for the month. And it is on average the highest increase out of all the months. It has the highest increase percentage-wise as well. So typically October is the best month of the year. And then November, December, all the way through until April are usually a really strong period. And that has to do with liquidity flows coming into the market from central banks all around the world. And it also just has to do with psychology of the markets and the way that the stock market works as well. Those flows come across in, and, you know, at the end of the day, it's just human emotion. It's just human beings trading these markets that cause these flows and these ebbs and flows of greed and fear that cause, you know, the peak euphoria and blow-offs and then the pullbacks and everything like that. So we want to be able to understand that and play with that and understand, you know, the seasonality. So what I'm trying to get the point across, guys, is right now is the perfect opportunity to understand everything that's going on, because you potentially have the possibility to set up really, really good positions over the next month, month and a half. A lot of the time, the best entry you get for the entire year is in mid to late September. So if you're somebody that's been dabbling in the markets, you really need to understand this stuff, because there's potential, the best opportunity you're going to have for the next 4 years are going to be buys in mid to late September. Take advantage of the mega bull run phase of the market where we just go banana zone. Everything goes absolutely nuts. And, you know, you're only going to get the opportunity to buy in September, October in the halving year of a 4-year cycle. You get that opportunity once every 4 years. So I'm trying to stress this to everybody. Understand exactly what you need to be looking for, and you want to be and you have to know when you want to see that. So those are the two major rules that we follow in trading. You have to know exactly what you want to see, and you have to know when you want to see it, right? So I've given you a bit of insight into that, seasonality, everything like that, what I'm looking for. So the strategy is how to make millions of dollars out of the cryptocurrency market in 5 to 8 years. Even if you just start with a small amount of money, you can multiply that really, really quickly if you know what you're doing and at the right times. If you don't know what you're doing, it's almost guaranteed that you will lose money, because it's a very tricky market. It's very emotional because it pumps really aggressively, it pulls back really aggressively, and you can panic at the wrong time and get wrecked. You can be too greedy at the wrong time, and that will also get you wrecked. And it's very, very difficult to fight human emotion. I mean, I managed to sell the all-time high in 2021. I put out lots of posts to all of my community in November 2021, and I sold a huge percentage of my portfolio very close to all-time high. But I tell you what, guys, it was one of the most emotionally difficult things I've ever done. And when I was doing it, you know, a lot of people telling me that I was wrong, but I was panicking inside emotionally that if I got it wrong and we did pump to say 150 or 200K, I would feel like an absolute idiot. So that's the hard thing that you're playing with. But, you know, my understanding of the markets and everything I was seeing, the data was just so strongly presented that I had to pay attention to the data that I was seeing. And that gave me the ability to make the right choice and fight against those emotions, because the emotions will work against you when you're at the all-time highs. The greed is really, really strong to fight against. But if you know what you're looking for, the logic can overpower that emotion. You make the correct decision at the right time, and that literally can set you up for the rest of your life. Because if you can sell anywhere close to the all-time highs, like I managed to back in 2021, and then reload during the accumulation zone, you can massively multiply the amount of Bitcoin you have. And then the next time we move up, you just have so many more coins to play with. And instead of, you know, throwing, you know, a quarter of Bitcoin into altcoins or something like that, now you're throwing 5 Bitcoin into an altcoin. And then that altcoin runs for a couple 100%. It makes a massive, massive difference, because you're starting out that cycle with a much bigger pot of more coins, and everything just multiplies a lot faster. So the strategy is, and it's perfect timing to get started right now. And if you do get started right now, you probably only need about 5 years, as opposed to somebody who started a couple of years ago, because then you're probably going to need the full 8 years. I believe that anybody can become a millionaire, multi-millionaire, even with small amounts of capital. But obviously, the more money you have, the easier it is over 8 years, because you need 2 cycles. You just need one banana zone. You need to get in before the banana zone. Remember, the banana zone is this part of the market cycle. We've got in 2017, we've got in 2021, we also got in 2013. When we break the all-time high, the previous all-time high from the last cycle, which is at basically 69K at the moment, which is where we're sitting right now. Once we break out of that and we start to push to new all-time highs and we get this next bull run that goes nuts, we have the euphoria stage of the market and everything like that, and liquidity is being pumped into the economy, everything's coming into alignment, right? If you manage to capture that part of the cycle, you only then need to make it through until the next all-time, and we'll have the top here, for example, then you only need to sell somewhere near the all-time high and then reaccumulate during accumulation, and it should be game over, to be honest. You should be in a very, very, very good position, and like definitely not having to work a job probably for the rest of your life, but having a lot of financial freedom, that is for sure, to be able to look after your friends and family, whatever you want to do. But the main thing is getting that time freedom. So the strategy is, and I taught this to a lot of people last cycle, loading up after the halving in this period here, and Bitcoin was around like 8 to 10K through that period. And then we popped off and we had that really aggressive rally all the way to 60, 69K in the end, right? We managed to exit around near close to the all-time highs. And even if you don't exit right at the exact top, when you're in the cycle for long enough, even if you sell somewhere, 10 to 15, 20% down from the highs, you can still do really well. And then add that back in close to the lows, somewhere in the accumulation range. You're going to have so many more coins than what you did at the top of the previous cycle, right? And then you can accumulate in here on Bitcoin and then on altcoins as well. Have a few rotations through the reaccumulation phase that we've just been through in the last year, and then take advantage of the next push to the next all-time high. Now, I do believe that you only really need until it makes it back to the all-time high to probably hit that 7-figure type account. If you're not, you're probably doing something wrong. But anyway, if you haven't made it to the 7-figure level by then, the following bull run, you should definitely be able to do that if you just follow the simple strategy of rotating through the altcoins at the right time, selling close to so rotating through your altcoins at the right time to increase your Bitcoin stack, then selling your Bitcoin stack close to the all-time high, even if just within the top 20%. Following our systems, you should be able to do that, because there's some really obvious signals, which is what allowed me to give the trigger to sell back here in 2021. And then same thing is what allowed us to accumulate during the accumulation zone, right? And then ride that next push up. When the swing goes from being extremely pessimistic to really positive, you can get that big push back up, and you should be back to a really good position in your portfolio. And then if you're not making it into, high 6 figures or 7 figures by the previous all-time high level, which is sort of where we're at right now, you should definitely easily be able to enjoy some very, very nice gains by the end of the next bull cycle phase. Now, we don't know if Bitcoin is going to continue to flow in this 4-year cycle of, 1.5 year bull market, 1 year bear market, a 1.5 year accumulation, reaccumulation cycle, and then bull market again. But one thing we have to know for sure is that miners are the biggest influencer on the market, and they still will be. Eventually, it'll become more and more like ETFs. I do think even with the ETFs coming into the market and BlackRock and the other big players, Bitcoin will have a little bit less volatility. But until we start to see really strong, proven, factual evidence that we're not going to continue to cycle with these big 80% pullbacks and 4-year cycle pumps, bull runs, etc., we have to expect it's going to continue to play out like that until we get evidence to prove to us that the pattern is broken. Then we'll look and reassess and see what the next strategy is that we want to take on. But at the moment, it's continually running like this. And there's reasons outside of just what happens on the Bitcoin network. There's massive macro factors at play, and Bitcoin is the best hedge, as Larry Fink says. Bitcoin is the best hedge against inflation that anybody can have in the world today. So that's my belief as well. And Larry Fink, who's the founder and CEO of BlackRock, says the same thing. So you can only look to some of the best in the financial industry and listen to what they're saying. And I believe that anybody realistically has the opportunity to participate in these markets, but you have to know exactly what you're doing so you can take advantage of opportunities when they're there. And the opportunity that we have right now over the next month and a half until the end of September, honestly, could be some of the best opportunities you will ever get again in financial markets. This could be one of the last bull runs that we have that is this size. And I believe that there's potential that this could be the adoption cycle that we've all been waiting around for. So the opportunity for this bull run is absolutely astronomical. I believe if you've been involved in the markets for a little while, you need to capitalize on this next push to the next banana zone euphoria pump that we have, and then try and sell anywhere close to all-time highs we possibly can. My prediction is that's going to be close to the end of 2025. Then we probably will see a pullback for about a year, and we'll look to try and get into an accumulation range where we can reapply the sells that we had at the previous all-time high, multiply our coins, and then do the same thing, cycle through altcoins at the right time with the early altcoin phase, and then go back to Bitcoin when the time's right. And then when Bitcoin reaches new all-time highs, then we have the next alt season, rotate through again, back to Bitcoin, and then sell Bitcoin near. Doesn't have to be the exact top like I got pretty much last cycle, but somewhere near the all-time high. And then, you should be in an unbelievable financial position that should be able to set you up generationally. And from there, you can diversify, go into stocks, go into housing, whatever you want to do. Take some lifestyle chips off, and then reapply some of that capital, re-add that liquidity back in during the accumulation range again. And it's the same cycle over again. I believe that will most likely continue to play out this 4-year cycle over and over again until something major happens in the economy, like we have a really big recession. And then potentially we could end up matching Bitcoin's cycle up after a few more halvings when the miners' selling power gets taken away. Then we could potentially end up matching up with the business cycle. And instead of having the 4-year extreme pumps and pullbacks, we'll probably see more of an 8-year cycle out of BTC, and the altcoins will probably follow along that journey as well. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, but Bitcoin cycle, et cetera, it's going to get less and less volatile. We still have a lot of altcoins, and there's still always opportunities. So one, I'm just going to give you a little nugget because you guys listen to the end of the video, is Sui is definitely tipped to be the next Solana for this cycle. So Sui is a coin that's also a layer one like Solana, and it is very close to around its listing price right now. So this is sort of a similar idea to when Solana was still at $3. And then in that bull market, it ended up pushing up all the way close to $300. And then it had basically a 95% pullback, right? I'll show you the example on my chart on Solana. Right, so Solana was, down here about $2, $23 for a long time. And then we got to the back end of the bull market when Bitcoin went to a new all-time high and then had the pullback. And remember the chart I showed you earlier, the Bitcoin dominance chart? We had this breakdown here, and altcoins started moving from January all the way until May. Now let's go and have a look at when Solana took off, right? January, it finally started moving up from $2.20. And then the first half of that year, it had already made its way up to $50 by May. Then we went sideways in the middle of the year. Remember seasonality. And then what did I tell you guys about that October, September period? It started to really take off, right? And then we ended up hitting the all-time highs on Bitcoin and Solana pretty much about the same time. And it made it all the way up to $260, right? So that is an insane growth period and one of the best stories, one of the best bull markets in any token and opportunity people have had. Potentially, we're going to get a similar opportunity to something like that, say, on a Sui this cycle, or it could be Aptos. One of the other layer ones might take over and steal that story. But there's always going to be these opportunities with, a new story, a new coin that pops up in future bull markets as well. So keep your eye on Sui for this cycle and keep your eye on Aptos as well. I think they could be coins that do outperform the rest of the market when we finally head into that banana zone period, which is coming most likely in 2025. And I believe the best entry setup for that is going to be late September, early October, and we'll have a really strong run all the way through until the end of 2025. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. If you want to learn more from us, click some of the links below and you'll get access to booking a call with one of our team members to walk you through all the options on all the education content that we do. We have a private Discord community as well, which you can jump into and learn and follow all the trades, get all the insights and follow all the ideas and thoughts that we have. I'm in there all day, every day, typing out everything that I'm seeing from the macro perspective, the liquidity flows that are coming into the market, what's going on with seasonality, any trades I'm taking with Bitcoin, when I'm expecting the altcoin market cycles to change over and everything like that, when I'm rotating back to Bitcoin, when I'm looking to sell the all-time highs, all that sort of stuff. Post that content all day, every day in the Discord community. My trading partner, Trader Romps, aka Chris, he's always in there as well, giving an update on these daily preps because he focuses more on low time frame trading. So if you want to learn that, jump in there and you'll be able to get heaps of access from that. We also have a 9-week course which will teach you everything I just talked about in much, much more heavier detail. It's about 45 hours of content all up, and it will also give you access to spend an entire year with us in the Discord as well, and give you access to some of our proprietary trading algorithms that we use to be able to give us signals when the market's about to reverse. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. If that interests you, make sure you click the link below and book a call with one of our team. Thanks.